everyone, it's Olivia from Girlybunches, and in this week's video I'm going to be showing you how to do this virus shawl. I've only done a couple of rounds here because I didn't want this video to be too long, and yeah, it's basically a very simple repeating pattern. I've done it in these two colours just so that you can see how the pattern repeats. Once I've covered this, you basically keep repeating. So I do cover how to do the next one along, so but I don't fully do it because it's literally just a repeat of this, but I'll show you how to start off the next phase. So simple to do. It's not my pattern, so I shall link in the description box where I got the diagram from, so you can have a look at the diagram. It's so simple, they're so quick to make as well. As you can see, that's just 8, I've got 8 rounds here, 7 rounds I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds there, and if I just get my crochet hook, you can see that it grows quite quickly. This is just double knit yarn that I'm using here, so it's nice and soft acrylic, so I think it looks rather special. I've done it in a variegated yarn, which I shall show you now. That is the shawl that was displayed on my stand at the workshops that I've just done at the NEC. So a well popular pattern, but I've had lots of requests to do this video, so I shall get on and show you how. So we're going to start off this project with 10 chains, and to do that you're just going to make your slip knot, put your loop onto your hook, and then start working your chain, which is yarn over and pull it through that loop, and we want 10 of those. 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're just going to join that loop with a slip stitch into that first chain that we did. So that's just putting the hook through, grabbing yarn and pulling it through both of the loops like so, and that's made our first loop, and that's what we're going to start working all of the stitches into. So we're going to do 3 chains now, and that is to replace a treble. So I call that a treble, but you may know that as a double crochet. It's exactly the same stitch, and if you didn't know there was a difference, 2 names for 1 stitch, then I've put a link up here and in the description box down below, which is a video of me explaining the differences just in case you didn't know. So into that loop now we need to do 19 more trebles. So that's literally just putting that through into the, so not working into the stitch as such, you're just working into that loop like so, and we want 19 trebles, but that will make 20 altogether, so that'll be that 3 chain includes a treble, so that's 1, 2, 3, and I shall come back when I have got 20 in there altogether. Okay, so there is our 10 chain loop with 20 trebles into that loop, and now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're just going to do 1 treble into the top of each of those trebles that we've already done. So there's no chain spaces between each of those trebles now for the next row. We're just going to go ahead and do 1 treble. So if I just turn that work around and then just work 1 treble into that next stitch, and just do that all the way back round to the other side. Okay, so there is my second row with just doing 1 treble into the top of each of those trebles from that first round. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to chain 4 this time, 1, 2, 3, 4, turn the work, and we're going to do 1 treble into each of the trebles from the previous round, but this time there's going to be 1 chain in between them, which is why we did 4 chains there. So 3 being the first treble, and then the extra one to be the chain between each of those trebles. So I've done my treble there, going to chain 1, and then into the next stitch I'm going to do a treble and then chain 1, and you get the idea. So I'm going to do the treble into the next one along, but it's now starting to fan out because we're putting that chain in between. So I'm going to keep doing that, and I shall come back once I have got to the end. Okay, so I've gone all the way around now, and I've done the 1 chain. I'm just going to do 1 more treble into that 3rd chain from the what was that, second round there, and that just do that treble into there. So there we go. So we've done 3 rows here 3 rounds, and so we just started off with our chain, then we did the trebles, and then the trebles straight into that, and then we've just done this 1 chain in between the trebles, and the pattern is worked over 4 rounds. So if you cast that as what the first round, second, third, fourth, okay, but it's actually the 3rd round. But I'm trying to emphasize how the pattern repeats. So just for the purpose of this video, I'm going to now swap to another color so that you can see how the next sort of set of 4 rows is started off. So even if you carried on with the same color, this is the same thing. We now want to chain 10, but that is to represent a treble, which would be 3 chains, then plus 7 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, added to the 3 we already did, that's 10. Okay, so we're going to turn the work around, and we're going to skip that first chain space there, and into the second one along we're going to do a double. So you may know that as a single, but I call that a double. Same thing, same stitch, but we just call it different things because I use British terminology. Okay, so that's what you do. You skip 1 chain and do a double into the next one along. Then we're going to do 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to skip 1 chain space and into the next one along a double, and then again 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a chain space and do a double into the next one along. Now we just want to do that one more time, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then skip a chain space and into the next one along do a double. And now this time we're going to do 7 chains. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then skip a chain space and do that double into the next one along. And then we're going to mirror that now onto the other side, 7, 4, 4, 4, 7. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, skip a chain space and do a double into the next one along. 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a double and do a skip a chain space and do a double into the next one along. Okay, so you can see that's now mirroring the other side. So 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a chain space and do a double, and then 4 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a chain space and do a double into the next one along, and that's exactly where we want to be, because if we look at the other side you'll see that that's where we skipped 1 chain space there and worked into the next one along. So we're going to do now 7 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I'm going to do a treble into the top of that 3rd chain there to finish off the round, just like that. And there we go. That has got the foundation now of our next repeat. This time we're now going to chain 3 to replace a treble. Turn the work, and into that 7 chain space we're going to do 9 more trebles, so that is going to count as 1, so that'll be 10 altogether. So just into that 7 chain space we want 9 more trebles. So if I count that now I should have 10, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need 1 more. 10. Okay, there we go. Now we're just going to do a double into that 4 chain space there, and then we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and do a double into that next one along, and then 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a double into that next one along there. Now what we want to do is do 10 trebles into that 7 chain space there, so that's what we'll do. So again, we now want to repeat that onto this side. So straight into the next 7 chain space, we're going to do our 10 trebles. Okay, so we've got 10 trebles into that 7 chain space, and then again we're going to just do a double into that 4 chain space there, which repeats what we did over here. So we finished off that 4 chain and did a double and then straight in with the trebles. So we've reversed it onto that side. So I finished my trebles and just did a double into that 4 chain space, and now we're going to do 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, and do a double into that 4 chain space, and again 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, and do a double into that chain space there, and then back to the 7 chain spaces. So we're going to do 10 trebles again. Okay, let's just have a look, see what we've got. As you can see, it's taking that sort of V shape on now, so it's going to have that nice shawl effect. So 10 trebles into the 7 chain spaces in each of the 4 that we had. So we had 7 chain spaces here and here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and each one we did 10 trebles. So this one up here has now got 20, which is exactly like we had here. And then we sort of leapfrogged over the 3, 4 chain spaces and just did 2 this time. So now this time we're just going to kind of repeat what we did here. So we're just going to do 1 treble into the top of all the trebles that we have here. So I'm going to start off with 3 chains. 1, 2, 3. So that's my first treble. Turn the work, and then we're going to do 1 treble into the top of each of those. So there's no chain spaces between them, we're just doing 1 treble into the top, so we'll have 10 altogether. Let me just double check. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so just a little word of warning here is that that double crochet that we did into that 4 chain space does look a little bit like a treble, so just make sure that you're not counting that as a treble. I've done that mistake when I did this pattern before, when I was making up my shawl, that I accidentally counted that as a treble, but it's not. You just want to make sure you've got 10 only, not 11. Okay, so now we're just going to go straight in and do a double crochet into that 4 chain space from the previous round, and then chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to do a double again into that 4 chain space, and then what we're going to do straight into doing 1 treble into the top of each of these trebles here. So I'll just show you what I mean, and then I shall speed up to get to the other side. So there we go, that's one side done, and then literally just keep going straight into that next treble along with the trebles and mirror what you've already done on one side. So again, like I mentioned on this side, you just want to make sure that you don't mistaken this double crochet here for a treble, because it does kind of look, when you hold it up like that, it does look a bit like that, but just have to look what's underneath it and check that it's a 4 chain space there. So don't accidentally work into that one. You just want to have 20 going across on that that row there. Okay, so double crochet into the 4 chain space, and then 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, double crochet into that next 4 chain space along, and then again we're just going to go straight in and do 1 treble into the top of the trebles from the previous round. So whilst you're sort of getting used to how the pattern repeats, I think it's a really good idea to just double check your numbers of stitches, because you want to make sure this is right, because it will affect the other rows if you don't get it right. So I'm just going to double check now that I've got 10 here, so I'm not going to count that one there because that is the double crochet into that 4 chain space. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need 2 more, which is right. Trebles, so that's into that one there, and then the last treble will go into that 3rd chain that we had when we first did those chains to represent our first treble. Okay, so let's have a look, see what we've got. Taking on a very nice shape now. So we are now going to do the last round of this sort of repeat. So I'm just going to do 3 chains to represent 1 treble, and in this row we're going to have 1 chain in between each of the trebles. So I'm going to do another one, so that's 4 altogether, turn around and then do a treble into the next treble along, chain 1 and then a treble. So this is repeating what we did down here when we had the chains in between, and that is literally all you do. So chain 1 and then the treble, and I'll show you what to do when we get to this part here. And again, make sure that that's 10 that you have there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You don't want to accidentally work into that one there, because that is just a double crochet into that 4 chain space. So once you've done the 10, you don't do a chain here. You're just going to do a treble into that next treble along. So again, don't mistaken this for a treble. Make sure you're going into that fan shape of trebles. So there was no chain space here. We just did 4 chains, 1 treble, a chain, 1 treble, a chain, 1 treble, chain, etc, 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 1 treble. Didn't do the chain, and you just start doing a treble and a chain again into these trebles. So a little bit kind of, it sounds a bit complicated, but it's not. It's just kind of just remembering that pattern of this, really, which is very simple, I think. So once you've done a few rounds in the repeat of the pattern, you soon have it remembered. It's very simple to do, and that's why I've done it in these different colours, just to kind of show you how simple it is to repeat. It's only 4 rows to repeat, which isn't too difficult to remember. And I shall just keep going now, and we're coming up to kind of, so how many have we got there? We have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, chain 1, 1 more treble, and there's 10. But we're just going to keep going with the chain spaces, because we just want a chain space in between each of these. It doesn't matter that it's the mirror part, that's fine. Okay, hope that makes sense. So we're just going to keep doing 1 treble and a chain over the top there. The only time you don't do the chain after the treble is when you're going over this gap here with the 4 chains. Okay, hope that makes sense. So again here I'm just going to check myself to make sure I'm not going to do too many trebles, because I don't want to do one into that one there. So even though it does look like a treble, it's not, it's just a double into that 4 chain space there. So you don't do a chain in between the trebles when you're going over this 4 chain space place, this area here. You're just doing the chains between the trebles when you're going over the fan of the trebles. So no chain here, straight in with a treble, making sure I'm not putting it into that double there, but into that treble that's there, like so, and then back to doing the 1 chain in between the trebles until I get round to the end. So there we go, one more treble into that third chain from that start of that row, previous row, and there we go, we have done a phase of, a full phase of that repeat pattern. Okay, so that is essentially it. I'm going to do in the blue colour the next starting row just so that you can see how that develops, but the rest of it is exactly the same. Whenever you have 7 chain spaces, you'll always do 10 trebles into them, and between them you skip 1 chain space and do 4 chains. Okay, so I'll cover that when I get into that next row in the blue, but you'll always do the same thing. It'll always repeat the same way. So let me change the colour of yarn. So I've attached the blue yarn, and again we're going to chain 3 to replace our treble, and then I'm going to chain 7, which is how we would start, which is our 7 chain space. So essentially it's 10 chains, but I want you to count them as 3 as a treble and then 7 chains as the 7 chain space. That's easier said than done, or is it easier done than said? There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Turn the work around, and again you're going to skip that first chain space there, and then you're going to do your double crochet into the next one along, and then 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a chain space, next one along, 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a chain space, next one along, 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip the next space, skip the next chain and do it in the one next to it. Okay, so now we're going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's the last treble from your previous round, and there's the next one. Okay, so there's that gap that didn't have the chain in between. So we're going to skip one of those chain spaces and put the double crochet into the next one along. So I hope you can see those are the trebles there. So don't put it into that chain space there, we're going to put it into the next one along, that's a double. Okay, so then we're going to do 4. So remember we've got 7, 4, 4, 4, 7. So we're going to do 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a chain space into the next one along, again 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a chain space into the next one along, 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a chain space and do it into the next one along. So we've got 3 4 chain spaces there, so that now means it's time for 7 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, skip a chain space and do it into the next one along, which is perfectly in the middle where we want it to be. Okay, you can see that edge there now. 7 chains, 4, 4, 4, 7, 4, 4, 4, 7. So we'll repeat that now. 7, 4, 4, 4, 7 to bridge that gap there, 4, 4, 4, and you end up with your 7 and then your treble on the end. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Skip a chain space, do your double in the next one along. So 4 next, 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, skip 1 chain space, double into the next one along, 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, skip a chain space and do a double into the next one along, 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, skip a chain space and do a double into the next one along, and then that brings us up to there's our treble from the previous round, and there's the next one along, so there was no chain space in between there. So we're going to do 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, skip 1 chain space and do it into the next one along, that's the double. Okay, so that's followed now by the 3 times 4 chain spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a chain space, do a double into the next one along, 1, 2, 3, 4, chains, skip a chain space, do a double into the next one along, and the last 4 chain space, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a chain space, do it into the do a double into the next one along, and there we go. That's exactly what we want to be. If I compare the both sides, you've got the chain space and that's worked into there, so that's fine, that's perfect. Now we want to do 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we're going to do a treble and get this to focus into that 3rd chain that we did from the previous round when we started it off. And there we go. That is the foundation now for your next phase. So that is basically the foundation for your next phase of the repeat pattern. So that is it. That is really very simple pattern to do. It's just the repeat of this. So into the 7 chain spaces you will have the 10 trebles, and you will you'll do your double into these spaces, 4 chain spaces, 4 chain spaces, it's like a stepping stone. I just pull this out, you can see that there's the 4 that we, the 3 that we did to begin with, then you do 2, and then you do 1, and then you just skip over the top of them all together with that that 4th round that I did in the green. And you just keep repeating that, and it's very simple to do. It just keeps growing. You don't have to worry about it. It will just keep growing, and it's brilliant because you can see that over we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I've done that's 7 rows there. That's gone quite a way. You know, that's almost the length of my crochet hook. You know, once we've done that 8th round, it will definitely be wider than your crochet hook. So yeah, you can see it's definitely grows nice and quickly, which is brilliant because, you know, we all like a quick growing project, don't we? And this is why it's called a virus shawl, because it grows really quickly and spreads, because you'll want to do more and more and more because it's so easy to do. Okay, so that is the end of the tutorial. I've been asked lots of times to do this video, so I hope that this is what you're after. I hope it helped. If I did the next row, it will only be repeating this, and I think this video is probably long enough as it is, so I hope, you know, you can go back and look at this, what we did here, to understand what's to do next, because it's just repeating again. So if you like this kind of video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you need more detail, then let me know, and I can do my best in the description box to answer any questions you have. I'd love to see the shawls that you've made. Drop them on my Facebook page, and I'd love to see that. That's it for the video, and I'll see you in my next one. Thanks for watching. Bye!